So, hey guys, welcome to another live stream. Just wait for some people to log in. So, we will wait a few more minutes. Still doesn't look straight. I'm not going back. Okay, so while we're waiting for some people to log in, so this is, hi Victor, welcome. So this is session 6 from the Contact Initiate series. So what I'm putting together is, I guess, a kind of training, a school perhaps, for preparing people, for preparing us for extraterrestrial contact, for the whole parcel of what I feel contact entails, the expansion of consciousness, the aligning with our calling, the changing our beliefs. And so these live streams are part of the Contact Initiates program. And there's going to be a lot more to it. It's probably going to be some sort of subscription service, probably. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but there's also going to be a free site as well. There's going to be a lot of free material as well. So if you're interested in finding out more about this program and being updated as new material comes available, go to the link in the chat box below. It's jonathancmartin.com/contact-initiates, and you'll be kept updated. So just give it a few more moments. Perhaps while we're waiting for a couple more people to log in, we can just take a few minutes to quiet our mind, because today's topic is transcending ego. And one part of transcending the ego is to begin to align with our higher consciousness, the part of that is beyond the ego. And meditation is a great tool for this. So if we take a few minutes to just relax. Hey, Fotil. Welcome. Hi, Danny. Good to see you again. Okay, so we'll get started. So, transcending the ego. How to transcend the ego. Hi, Lilypad. Welcome. So, finding an entry point. I tell my ego to go on vacation to work together. So, in several, I think, contact experiences I've had, and when I say contact experience, what I'm referring to in this case is like when I sense their craft coming into our area. Not necessarily when I see it. It can include a sighting and has done in the past, but more often than not, it's sensing their consciousness entering our reality. And so what's occurred in several of these contact experiences is that I felt or seen their craft coming closer and closer into our reality, and felt my own consciousness rising as their craft enters my reality. But then at some point I have like an egoic thought. I get some ego coming, like I have a thought like, oh, I'm great, I'm making contact, I'm better than people. Not exactly that, obviously, but that sort of energy behind it, a subtle ego perspective, or an out of balance egoic thought coming in. And as soon as this egoic thought comes in, I sense or see the craft backing off, disappearing. As soon as I'm in a pure state of consciousness that initiates the contact and attracts them in, because this is what they're attracted to when we're in very high vibrational frequencies, because this is their natural state, or we are coming closer to their natural state. This sort of attracts them in. They're like, oh, the humans are finally waking up. They're getting ready for contact. And we're in a sort of transcendent, pure consciousness state. And then they come in, and I have an egoic thoughts, and all of a sudden I sense them start, or feel them, or see them start backing off. That as soon as the egoic thought comes in, I can almost sense them saying bye-bye. Just that there's no arrogance, or it's just there's no judgment. It's just like as soon as the ego comes in, they decide to leave. So it's becoming pretty clear to me from these experiences that to move towards open contact and initiate contact on a personal and collective level, we have to transcend the ego. And of course, this is what they're constantly teaching us through their teachings of follow your excitement, raise your consciousness. So today I'm going to go through some techniques to assist us with transcending our ego, let going of these ego patterns, and raise our consciousness to a frequency closer to their level of pure awareness, high frequency consciousness that transcends the ego, in a sense, our true state, our true nature, because our ego is our distorted perception of who we are. Who we are is pure awareness, pure consciousness. Like the sense of I am, I exist. Like, you know, these like epiphanies we have, like these spiritual experiences where we're just present, very present in the present moments. Are there no thoughts, or the thoughts aren't really relevant to our reality? This is the sort of transcendent state. So I'll just check some of the comments and then we'll get back to our ego transcendence. Hi all, what is new? Kinda how to keep calm in the midst of high energy. I notice that many souls are sleepless and bombarded with the grumpy emotion. High language of lights, languages. Yes, so what's so the question is how to keep calm in the midst of high energy. I notice that many souls are sleepless and bombarded with the grumpy emotion. Perhaps if we all take a few moments just to center ourselves, just to quiet our minds a little, because this sort of ties into some of the questions and the general theme of this transmission. So, an entry point into shifting our consciousness from ego identification to a more high frequency natural state is to stop thinking for a few moments. And stopping thinking is, in a way, fairly easy. But our mind comes in with all these fears and like panics, sort of triggered by our lower chakras. That can draw us back into mind identification. And so when we stop thinking, just for a few moments, we'll often get some thoughts still coming. Oh, I've stopped thinking, or just little thoughts. And it doesn't matter so much if these small thoughts are popping up. But the secret is that we don't hook onto them. We don't like get a thought to come up that says, oh, you can't stop thinking, otherwise you won't get your bills paid and you'll lose your house. It's okay if these thoughts come up, but the secret is to not hook onto them, not let them carry us away on a stream of identification with that thought, not let us say, sort of agree, oh yes, I can't stay stillness, I have to think, I have to, and then go into this thought pattern about paying bills and keeping the rent paid, or these sort of things. So it doesn't matter if like little thoughts pop up. But the secret is to just let them come and let them go. And a part of this takes some sort of degree of surrender, some sort of non-attachment to our physical reality. Because when we're attached to paying our rent or keeping our relationship going or getting lots of money or getting on well in our work, these thoughts can drag us back in. They pop up and they grab our attention, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, this thought's real. I can't risk going into silence because this thing that my mind is saying might happen. So it takes some degree of surrender, some degree of letting go of attachment to the outside world. And I guess to do this, we need to see and become clear in our conviction that when we are following our excitement and following our calling and our heart's calling in the moment to go into silence for our own conscious expansion, we need to understand that this is of the highest service for us and of the highest service for all beings in creation. Because when we're following the impetus of our excitement, of our calling, this is the guidance of our higher self. In a sense, it's a guidance of God, of source directly. It comes through our higher self, but it's translated from source. It is the expression of source through us. We are infinite consciousness expressing this reality. And the most aligned and pure way to express our divinity in this reality is to live our excitement, live our joy, be of service through our calling and through our passion. And so the understanding is that because this is the guidance of our higher self is part of the infinite one, infinite consciousness. And so the infinite one always wants to serve the entirety of itself. So when you're following your excitement, you're always serving all beings. You're always serving the highest in creation. You're serving all beings in creation, because the impetus of your excitement is the guidance of your higher self. It is the translation in physical reality of the frequency of the higher mind. And so the higher mind, being the one, understanding that it is the one, only wants to serve the one and only wants to serve all beings in creation. And because it has an expanded view and it understands all aspects of creation and a much more vastly greater degree of wisdom, because it has, in a sense, experienced all our soul incarnations, because it contains all our souls, all aspects of our souls, past souls, future souls. No, I'm getting a little confused. It's our soul that contains all the past and future lives, but the higher self is, in a sense, the part of us that understands the wisdom, as I understand it, understands all the wisdom of the soul, or something like that. But the idea is that the higher self is always serving all of creation, because it understands it is all of creation. So our higher self would never give us an excitement, which is the guidance of the higher self, all excitement, all positive frequencies, if they're coming from a truly aligned place, from bliss, joy, serenity, peace, creativity. They're coming from the impetus of the higher mind, the higher self, and so it's always of the highest service to all of creation, because it is all of creation expressing. And so if we can get our belief systems wired to understand this, to understand that when we're acting upon our highest excitement, to explore the idea of meditation and silencing the physical mind and letting go of attachment to thoughts and ego-based negative thoughts, we can let go of our thoughts more easily, because we understand that we are being of the highest service to all beings in creation, including ourselves. So it becomes easier from when we have this perspective. When a thought comes up, we can just sort of, in a sense, use our mind to unpick this thought if need be, and we can just quickly sense into, no, I'm being of the highest service to all beings, including myself, by doing this. And if we also understand that we create our reality vibrationally through the frequency we output, and that when we're in a state of silence, we are emitting a higher frequency because it feels better, it feels serene peace, or we're moving in that direction, we will naturally be attracting more abundance to ourselves. So when we sense into the idea that from this surrender into our true nature, our true frequency of serenity and peace and joy, that comes, is kind of like the perfume of the silent mind, of dropping into our natural state. When we see all this, it becomes a lot easier to not latch on to the thought patterns that come up during meditation. It becomes a lot easier to drop into the pure frequency of pure mind, silence, emptiness, as the Buddhists call it. So for me, it's very much helped to have this understanding that when we're surrendered to our pure state, we are of the highest service to all beings, the highest service to ourselves, and we are creating a vibrational frequency that is attracting a greater reality into ourselves, a more valid reality. But it still seems to take some degree of surrender. It still seems to take some degree of letting go of attachment to circumstances, to our life. And it takes the knowledge, I guess, that of all these things I've talked about, along with the realization that true joy, true happiness comes from this surrender, comes from letting go into this present moment, so that everything we desire for ourselves and for others and for all of humanity is contained in this frequency of surrender to the higher self, to the higher frequency. And so when the mind comes up and it says, if you don't listen to me, your entire life's going to fall apart, we can just let it fall apart. We can almost sense into the feeling of everything falling away. Oh, well, my computer might break. I might not be able to live stream. I might not be able to pay my bills. I might lose all my relationships. But it doesn't matter, because this is my calling, and this is my divine nature, and this is my serenity, and this is my bliss, and this is who I am, and this is why I'm here. So it doesn't matter if my entire life collapses, because this is the highest I can be doing. This is the best thing for all beings, myself included. And when we have this perspective, this knowledge, this understanding in the core of our being, and the mind comes up and it tells us that our entire life is going to fall to pieces if we don't listen to it, we can just ignore it, because it doesn't matter. It's okay if our entire life falls to pieces, because we understand that it's been created by our higher self for our own good, even if it does, and something better will come from it. So if we can get these beliefs wired into our physical brains and begin to transcend and see through the old beliefs that speak all sorts of nonsense that we were taught by our teachers and society about what life is supposed to be and how we're supposed to act, and how being bad is being good and how being good is being bad, as we seem to have been taught at school. Doing what you want, following your excitement is bad. You're a bad boy. You should be going to school, getting a job and being depressed and getting angry and drinking alcohol and going to football, blah, blah, blah. So when we can rewire our physical minds to these perspectives, it in a sense gives us a grounding, a solid platform or a perspective that can allow us to surrender more and more to the silence of our true nature. And from this perspective, we can begin to use tools and techniques such as meditation to begin to silence our mind, begin to quiet our mind down drastically, and really it's just a case of choosing to stop thinking. And it's quite rare to be able to completely silence the mind, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to choose to stop thinking and then just allow any thoughts to be there. Like the mind tends to keep ticking over and just coming up with random thoughts, but just not hooking into them, not latching onto them, not identifying with them, not believing in them, just letting them be there. And sensing into the, I guess, deeper state of awareness, deeper state of who we are, that feeling of almost being at home. Just riding the wave of eternity, just drifting, just being. All's okay. So I'll have a look at the questions, if we have any. Hi, Jonathan. Do you feel solar flare since March when you breathe in? Not quite sure exactly what you mean, but there was definitely a shift around March time. And it's almost like been sunny every day since March, it seems, in the UK. Incredible weather we're having here. Very unusual for the UK. It's like blue skies, scorching hot almost every day for months, it seems. Incredible. And it feels like there's very high solar activity. It feels a very solar energy. It's very positive energy generally. It's been for 3 or 4 months since the winter. So there's definitely something going on. Hi, Paula. Hi, Mishari. Hi, Tinfoil. Hi, Jonathan. Do you feel that you are not here, but in another reality or parallel reality? I mean, ultimately, the only is here, but I sort of get what you're pointing to. Sometimes I feel like I can't quite identify with regular people. Like I almost feel myself just in a perspective where I can't quite identify with what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me, and they're almost like becoming so far away that they're in another world. But generally I feel like I'm quite here and quite grounded. I focus on staying grounded in the here. Empty your cup and not be so full of yourself. That's great advice for all of us. Because ultimately, we all know what the ego is, because while one part of transcending the ego is doing the spiritual practice, the meditation, following our excitement, anything to raise our frequency or silence our mind, quiet our mind, to take us out of ego identification with the mind. And very often, we could, in a way, we could, yes, so anything we can do to take us out of identification with the physical mind assists us in transcending the ego. It puts us in that vibration or state of the higher self, our higher nature. And so we naturally disidentify from the mind. And these are those serene moments we have, these euphoric moments of connection, and where we feel connected or very peaceful or very still or very joyful. These are generally moments where our vibration is raised and we've disidentified from the fearful ego-based mind into the wisdom of the higher mind, the pure self. So these techniques are very valid and excellent, and I highly recommend we use all these techniques at our disposal to transcend our ego. However, we can also, like Bobby says, empty our cup and not be so full of ourselves, because we all get egoic sometimes. Well, I know I certainly still do. I observe my ego regularly throughout the day, and it's an ongoing battle to, sometimes it's almost impossible to disidentify from the ego when it's like in one of these, like, you know, when you have these arguments with people in your head, like someone that's like done something to you, like even a year ago or something, it's voice in your head, like still playing out this theoretical argument with them. And you know it's ego, but somehow you just can't let go of it because they've wound you up so much. And so we know this is the ego, but there are obviously throughout the day, we can see our ego popping in all the time, when that part of us that wants to be better than other people, that wants to prove we've achieved something, that wants to stand out, that wants to be like, me, hey, look at me over here. We can see this throughout our day, and every time these lesser egos come up, we can really make an effort to observe them and catch them on the head and say, look, no, this isn't good. It's like trying to be better than this other person isn't helping them, and it's not helping me. It's lowering my frequency because I'm dropping into a negative ego perspective, and it's hurting this person. Every time we focus egoic energy on someone about trying to be better than them, we're actually directing negative energy at them and having a negative impact on them. So every time we see ourselves in some sort of egoic battle with someone, like trying to subtly prove ourselves better, you know, like even like say we're in a meditation group or something, and we get this subtle thought coming, oh, I'm a more experienced meditator. And we can sense, we sort of know it's ego, but we just sort of ignore it because there's that part of us that wants to be better, wants to feel loved, and wants to feel worthy, and wants to be seen by our fellow humans as a good achievement. I guess it's this solar plexus energy of wanting to be a valid member of the tribe and being good enough so people will want us. But what it really does is it just irritates people, and it's actually directing negative energy towards those people, towards other people. And so if we can begin to catch ourselves and see these little subtle thoughts that can come up, like, oh, look, I'm better at meditation, I have a better posture, look at me, I'm experienced because I've done yoga, and these subtle thoughts that we can come up. And actually a great way to that started highlighting some of my egoic tendencies was that that spiritual comedy channel. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think, is it JP Sears? Perhaps someone can confirm in the chat what it's called. JP Sears, how to be ultra spiritual, and it's really funny. It's extremely humorous, and it's also really great. He's a really powerful spiritual teacher, because we look at these things and like how to be ultra spiritual and all these jokes he makes about people trying to be more spiritual than each other, but we see that we actually do them. And I found it really powerful for myself, for highlighting my own egoic tendencies, because I'm here laughing at this comedy of this person trying to be more spiritual than other people, and it's highlighting the ego in myself. So yeah, so I find his channel a great way of highlighting our ego. So this goes hand in hand with the practice. Silence our mind and observe our ego. Keep observing it and keep letting it go. Hi, Starseed Energetics. Julian, clarifying, the person that said about, do you feel solar flares every time you breathe in? He says, he means, I mean warm, good energy. And yeah, definitely. We went through a huge shift into positive energy around March time. I feel that totally. It's amazing. About time. We deserve it. Or perhaps we don't. Perhaps we've still got too much ego. Hi, Tiny Dancer. With channeling, how to deal with dark. I think I touched a little in this on last week's session. Check that out. It's really just a case of focusing on the highest, wanting to do this to serve ourselves and serve others, and coming from love and compassion. And because we're coming from that frequency, we will only attract light for light frequency. And just believe that we're safe and all's good, and our beliefs create our reality. So just focus on love. Love it. If you're ever worried, just go into love and just radiate love. Enter your heart space. Darkness doesn't like love. The very few times that I have ever had anything weird coming in, I've just sent it love, and it either transmutes into the love, it either changes its frequency to love, or if it is dark, it'll just scuttle off, because the darkness doesn't like the light or the love. I have to ask, why not do more of these more often? I mean, a week is just a long time. Yes, and they go too quickly. Glad to see you again, sir. Yeah, I'll consider it, tinfoil, doing them more regularly. With channeling, how do you deal with negative energies? I think I just covered that. And as Bashar always taught me, because sometimes you get people talking about protection in channeling, but the danger is with protection is that you're saying, I'm protecting myself, I'm putting this bubble up to protect myself from all these negative energies. So what are you focusing on? Negative energies. So you're like focusing on negative energies attacking a bubble, and this little bubble keeping them out, because you create your own reality. So what Bashar has always advised, and it was Bashar that got me into channeling, he says the best protection is the belief that you don't need protection, because our beliefs create our reality, and then we're not focusing on anything weird. And it's always worked for me, really. 99% of the time. There's been a few I've never had anything really negative come in, I don't think. Perhaps I have when smoking marijuana and channeling. It gets a bit risky then, but but it's almost fun. I don't care when I'm in that state, so I go on battles with demons and all sorts. But when channeling from a clean state, which I am 99% of the time, I've never really had any negative energies. And when I have sensed something weird coming in, I just radiate love. I go into my heart, drop into my heart, and love just purifies everything. So that would be my advice. And don't focus on it. Just forget about it. It don't exist. It's part of infinite reality. Not interested. I've never really focused on it, so I've never really attracted it to me. And observe if you have any fear of it. Because if you have deep fear of attracting negativity to you, you might do so. So observe your fears and redefine your fears. Understand that a fear is a misaligned belief and begin to redefine it. Hello, I would love to ask you about how could we integrate our cosmic being. I have been seeing an alien that told me that it is me in other dimensions, and so what I felt was separation and sadness. I mean, if you're seeing the alien, you're already beginning to integrate your cosmic being. But you're having a belief coming up telling you that this cosmic being or this aspect of yourself is separate from you, so you become sad. And the reason you feel sad is not because you're separate from this being. It's the sadness is the sign that your belief is incorrect. Because the sadness is stemming from a fear that you're separate. And a fear is a sign that you have a belief that is out of alignment with who you are. So what's happening is you're seeing the image of the alien. That's another aspect of you. So you're tapping into your infinite multidimensional self that exists here and now as you. Your cosmic self, your cosmic being. You are beginning to integrate your cosmic being. But you have a belief that says, because it's in another dimension, it's separate from me. And this makes you feel sad. And the reason you feel sad is because that belief's not true. See, we think that we feel sad because we're separate from that dimension. But it's not. The reason we're feeling sad, the sad is a knock on the head from our higher self. It's our higher self making us feel sad because something's out of alignment. And what's out of alignment in this situation is the belief that you are separate from this dimension where this extraterrestrial version of you exists. But it's not true. Everything exists here and now as you. There is no separation. There is only consciousness. There is only you. Everything is your creation. Everything exists within your awareness, within your consciousness. Everything we're experiencing now is happening within your consciousness, within your greater self, as a projection of yourself, who you are. It's all everything you experience is experienced within you. It's you're creating this as a projection of your consciousness. Everything is a projection of your consciousness. Everything you experience, it's like you're constantly emitting a frequency. And from this frequency, you're projecting this reality apparently outside of you, but it's all within you. It's all you. It's you are an energetic state. You are a vibrational energy. And as your vibration shifts, your reality shifts. So it's all you. It's all a creation of your vibrational state within your consciousness. You're projecting from this apparent center a vibrational frequency. Your consciousness is projecting this vibrational frequency that at present is containing you are the vibrational frequency of a YouTube live stream, watching me and having a chat with people. This is your vibrational frequency that you are creating as your vibrational self, as your energetic self. It's all you. This is all you. This is all us. This is all you. This is all your creation from your vibrational state. And when you have a vision of a extraterrestrial version of yourself from another dimension, that is another vibrational creation of yourself in the present moment. So there is no separation. There is only vibrational creation. And this is the integration of your cosmic self. So you need to look at the belief that says that this extraterrestrial in another dimension is separate from you, and see that in a sense, there are no other dimensions. I mean, we could say everything is a different dimension. Of course, relatively speaking, in the illusion of experience, there are other dimensions, but ultimately there are no other dimensions. There is only you. There is only you in creation. Everything you experience is a manifestation of your vibrational state, a manifestation of your energetic frequency you are in. You are creating almost like a hologram out of a projector. Imagine a little projector projecting a hologram. And the projector is you. And the hologram is the projection of you. It's like you are infinite pure potential. And from this infinite pure potential, perhaps we could call it like they call in quantum physics superposition, where everything exists as a potential. And this potential, this infinite potential that you are as your true self, your true infinite nature, your God self, is creating what we see around us according to our vibrational choice in the moment. So it's all you. It's all a vibrational projection of our infinite potential self, creating a vibrational reality outside of us. I'm really enjoying what you're saying about ego. Thank you. Thank you, Tiny Dancer. Thanks, Photo. Bye. Can you channel with Osiris, or do you think that he is positive? Yeah, I'm fairly certain Osiris is a positive entity. And yeah, I may be able to channel at some point. Not today, I don't think, but yeah, I do have an interest in channeling. I've actually channeled Osiris's partner, Isis, in the past, so I don't see any reason why I couldn't channel Osiris. I've channeled Isis a few times. I'm sure there will come a time where I channel some Egyptian entities live, because I have deep connections to ancient Egypt. Yeah, all we can do is observe when we're negative and see it as ego, see it as out of alignment. Make effort to follow our frequency and raise our frequency and redefine our beliefs. See that anything that makes us feel negative is a misaligned belief that needs redefining. Or somewhere in there is a out of alignment belief that we need to get to the bottom of. What is the difference between our higher self and our oversoul? So, as I understand it, the soul, our soul, is that aspect of us, because remember, everything's us. Every layer of us, ultimately, it's all us, right up to source, right up to the absolute or manifest. It's all us. There is no separation. So it's all us, ultimately. And the soul, as us, is the aspect of us that contains all past lives, all future lives, all parallel incarnations, probably millions and millions of lives, of existences. Parallel versions of Earth, experiencing slightly different versions of ascension. Extraterrestrial versions of ourselves in the future, in Sirius, Pleiades, Arcturus, Orion, Yael, Sasani. Aspects of ourselves as perhaps angels, non-physical beings, pure consciousness, sixth density beings. Past lives in ancient Egypt or Avalon or whatever. Our soul contains it all. It contains all these aspects of ourselves, millions and millions of parallel incarnations, future incarnations, past incarnations. Our soul contains it all. Our soul is experiencing it all simultaneously, here and now, because there is only the present moment. Experiencing all those different aspects of ourselves on different vibrational frequencies as itself. So that is our soul, as I understand it. And our oversoul is... we have an oversoul that is a collection of many souls that are exploring a similar theme on planet Earth. So it's likely that most of us in this conversation here have the same oversoul. We are the same oversoul. We may even be the same soul, but I think that's unlikely. It can happen, I believe, to have members of the same soul connecting, I think, but that's unusual and unlikely and rare, maybe. I'm not sure. But so the oversoul is like a collection of souls that is playing out many similar incarnations. And the higher self is, I sense, the perspective that has experienced all the wisdom of the soul. Somehow it's the aspect of us that has learnt all the lessons of our soul's journey. As one of my teachers explains it, as we ascend through the densities, it is just before we merge back into source consciousness, just before we complete our soul's journey, like we reach the highest density, seventh density, and we begin to merge back into source. And in a sense, that is the completion of this universe, ready for the birthing of a new universe. At that point, just before we dissolve into complete unity and oneness with the totality of creation, we leave an imprint, in a sense, in seventh density. That is our higher self. That's my understanding. So it's essentially the higher self is an aspect of us that has the wisdom of our entire soul's journey. And that's why it's so wise, because it's done all this a million times. And it's learned all the lessons a million times. So it's very wise. Thank you, Pina. I'll be damned if it ain't already complete. No, wait, what I mean is, the isness is the same as it ever was, despite all appearances, right? Yeah, because there is no time. So we've already completed this journey. It's a bit of a paradox. I don't fully understand it. I've heard Bashar say that it's already always been done. But at the same time, we're experiencing it anew. It's never been done as we're doing it from this particular perspective. But of course, time doesn't exist and we're all infinite, so it must have already occurred. So I guess that's the paradox. We've already completed this entire universe. Yet we're in the journey with the billions and billions and billions of years ahead of us, simultaneously. And to quote Bashar, when we're squarely in the center of paradox, we are truly blessed. When we can just let it be, we don't have to understand it. It's only the ego mind that wants to understand, that separate version of ourself. The true self, the higher aspect of ourself, doesn't need to understand. It can sit squarely in paradox. That we are exploring this universe, yet it's already reached completion and birthed into a new. Everything we're ever going to do has already happened. And when we can rest into the paradox, that crux point where we don't need to know the answer, that's when we just, our consciousness expands into infinite awareness. Because paradox is our nature. We are paradox because we are infinite and unbound. We are paradox because we are the infinite one. We are paradox because nothing is beyond us, because we are it all. So paradox is what we are. And when we can drop into that paradox and not need to come to an answer either way and understand that both are true, we have billions of years of evolution ahead of us. Yet it's already done. It can kind of send us into a state beyond ego of pure stillness and freedom. So, another technique for transcending ego: accept paradox, accept that we are it all, and understand that we cannot understand it. As Ra says, it all begins and ends in mystery. Oh, the question has disappeared. So, sixth density or seventh density, higher self. I'm not sure, is the honest answer. Probably sixth density, actually. Right on the end of the last, I guess, because seventh density is the density of unification with source, I believe. So Yes, it would actually be sixth density. I think the last experience of sixth density would be the birthing of the higher self. And then there's nothing else to achieve, because the higher self is that aspect of ourself that knows it all. So there's no longer any reason for that consciousness to exist. So it blends back into oneness, which is seventh density. So yeah, I would say the higher self is the highest level of sixth density, right at the last moment before we transition to seventh density. There's still growth or development, at least wherever there's room or space for it, so to speak. Is this why new universes are created? Haha. Yeah, I mean, creation is infinite and unbound and eternal. So I guess there's always infinite universes being birthed. This is the dance of creation. Creation wanting to experience itself in every way creation can. So in a sense, there is an eighth density, as I understand it, but don't think I've experienced it, which is what we call the absolute, the unmanifest, which is beyond God, beyond all that is, beyond the manifest source, beyond infinite manifest reality. That's seventh density, what we might call God, or all that is, source consciousness, oneness, is the infinite manifest. But there is, as I understand it, an eighth density beyond that, which is the absolute, which is infinite nothingness. Just literally nothingness, but in some way it has existence, even though it doesn't exist. And yeah, and then from there, it perhaps what goes into what we could call ninth density, but it's really a new first density being birthed in a new universe. I will do a talk on the densities soon. I actually wanted to do a bit more research before I did it, because as you can see, I'm still a bit sketchy. So I will do a live stream probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks on the densities, because I feel it's important for understanding as we move towards contact. If everything has already happened, does that mean Source is already self-realized and has nothing new to learn? Yes, but it also has new things to learn as well, because that's the paradox. But self-realization is the realization that we are Source. So yes, the Source is the self-realization. We're already self-realized. We sometimes see this image of the Jewish star, the Star of David, or the Macabre, like two interlocking tetrahedrons, which is a triangle pointing up and a triangle pointing down. And I've heard it described as symbolic of the triangle pointing up is humanity seeking divinity, like humanity wanting, the human wanting to be self-realized, aiming for the highest. But then simultaneously, there's the triangle pointing down, and this is Source, self-realized consciousness, the one, wanting to experience humanity. And this is the paradox. So while we're trying to become self-realized and become Source, Source is constantly saying, no, I want to experience you. I already know myself as Source. I already am self-realized. I don't need to experience this. I want to experience humanity. I want to experience separation. I want to experience the illusion of being a lost human. Yeah, so self-realization is the realization that we are Source. So Source already knows this, obviously. Source knows it is source. So it has nothing to learn, but it still wants to learn. It's the paradox. Source is everything and knows everything, but simultaneously wants to experience this in a new way. Why would it want to do that? Why do we want to do that? Well, this is the fun of creation. This is creation. It just is what it is. It's just happening. It begins and ends in mystery. Because of practically infinite probabilities, it might take forever to run through every single scenario, so to speak. It would take roughly eternity. No need for hurrying that way, I guess. Yes, eternity. Because there is no time. It's just consciousness just fluxing, moving, exploring itself in infinite ways from new perspectives constantly, infinitely. So infinite has no bounds. Infinite is beyond time. Infinite is infinite, infinite time, infinitely eternal. Infinite cannot have an end. Are you practicing ESP, Jonathan? Extrasensory perception. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could call channeling extrasensory perception. I see a lot of images. I'm quite visual, quite clairvoyant, more so lately, it seems. If this is what you mean, I'm not sure if you mean something slightly different. Could our higher self be a collective consciousness, like Arcturian's consciousness? I guess similar. I mean, our higher self is a collective consciousness because our higher self is the consciousness of all our experiences. So it's a collective consciousness, but it's on a higher level of Arcturian consciousness, because Arcturian collective consciousness is, as I understand it, like what we're heading to a telepathic civilization, like the collective consciousness of Earth that we're heading to will be like 7 or 8 billion unified human beings, like unified in consciousness. So a higher self is a much higher collective consciousness because it contains all like expressions of our soul ever. Okay, so thanks, guys. Thanks, Pina. It's been a good live stream. I have enjoyed it. I mean by ESP, are you now online listening to a voice talking to you, or voices, and a telepathic conversation with us? I'm always trying to tap into my higher self and tune into the collective of the group. I do it through frequency. it's when I feel really energized and the information is flowing and I feel in a high frequency state as I'm speaking, that is a sign to me that I'm aligned with my higher self and aligned with the collective consciousness of the group, which my higher self is aware of. So I'm speaking to the collective of the group, talking about what is relevant to all of us. And if I notice my energy going heavy and feeling a little bit ratty or discordant somehow, that's a sign that I'm not really tuning into the collective frequency of the group and the frequency of my higher self. And therefore, the information I'm bringing through is a bit one-sided and just sort of what I want to talk about and not relevant for the group. So if that makes any sense, that's how I connect in, but I'm not really channeling in the way like I channel the Yael or receiving sort of direct telepathic communications from you guys that I'm aware of on a very visceral level. So thanks, guys. I think we'll call it a day there. It's been quite a long live stream. So yes, so if you want to sign up for the Contact Initiates program, which these live streams are a part of, check out the link in the box below, which is jonathancmartin.com/contact initiates. And there you can sign up for the mail list for the Contact Initiates program, and you'll be kept updated as any more material comes available. And I'll keep you updated of the free and paid tiers of the program and how it's going to play out and when it's going to go live. So thanks, guys. And I shall... Is it possible to channeling in a dreaming state, lucid dream? Is it possible? I guess so. I guess we're always channeling in a way while we're dreaming. Maybe bring up that question again next week and I'll go deeper into it, because I think I'm going to call it a day now. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. And we'll see you same time next week, 6 p.m. UK time on Tuesday. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.